are. He will also share the connection of the petroglyphs of the Hopi that depicts the layout, shape, and form of Serpent Mound, as well as the history of the Snake Clan ancestors. So please help me in welcoming Bertram Walker.
Yes, as you see on the name, naturally I was born Bertram Walker. The Hualapai family name was actually pronounced WAKAYUTA, but I did a lot of the Hopi imagery. So to make my name Hopi-ish, which I kind of spoiled my natural birth name, Tsavadawa is the pronunciation in our Hopi language, which would actually interpret and translate to as winter solstice. And I was actually born in the winter month of January, so it was kind of fitting that my late maternal grandfather's sister became my paternal grandmother, because the Hualapai and Havasupai culture of my father is not the same tribal people and teachings as the Hopi. And Hopi, we are matrilineal in our lineage. So my mother is Corn Clan, so that makes me as the Corn Clan member. But I will talk about other tidbits of information about us as the Hopi people, some of the teachings, as this is known to be the Star Knowledge Peace Summit gathering here. So I will talk about some of the category of what I do clarify with information of our Hopi teachings as Archeo-Astronomy. And so with that teaching about, say, the Star of Bethlehem, or the Christmas star, as my ancestors and elders were questioned and probed by the archaeologists and other of the anthropologists, ethnographers, inquiring how the Hopi and the ancestors came to their present day location. Bluntly, they would just answer of the phrase description that they were guided by the stars. So in that teaching of 2024 years ago, in the basket maker time period, that guidance of that either binary star or the trinary, depending on which astrophysicist, astronomer that you talk with, that was the same star that gave guidance to my ancestors in this area of the earth, where ironically, it was also shown in the opposite side of the earth and the world of that. But it also in our teachings that they describe about the Big Bang Theory, in our teachings, it was the keeper of elements of space, Sotukunam, that stirred up his frictions of his power and the spark was emitted. So that'll give that description of the, beginning of the Big Bang Theory, beginning of our planet Earth, as the planet that we reside on. And so ancestors were depicting these different variations of symbols of the stars. So they didn't have the telescopes or the technology that we have. So how they looked and viewed with their naked eye, the star beams, depending on, multiple linear, the numbers of them, would be representing of the different stars and planets that are in our night sky. Our reference to that would be the sky roof of that description. And also another teaching that I talk about, that also another of the guidance of the stars in our present day location in Northeastern Arizona under Hopi mesas, the ancestors were also guided by the belt, where December 21st, 1180, 1:18 a.m., those ancestors of the Hopi had seen the low-lying depiction of the hunter. The belt, we reference to it as the stars that are strung up. And that was the alignment with my village of Oraibi, translates to as Judah, as Old Oraibi on the third Mesa region. The middle planet was represented to the second Mesa village of Sangopavi, as one of my friends that I met, David Moa, comes from that village of Sangopavi on second Mesa. The spring where the large reeds grow will be that translation. And then the other end of the belt, first Mesa village of Walpi, the Gap, were the very first permanent established villages at that particular time. So in the commonality of the understandings in archaeology, they give a reference to that the ancestors left or abandoned Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon, Hoven Weep. In our state of Arizona, they utilize the Hopi place names. Wupatki National Monument, which translates to as Tall House by the town of Flagstaff, or Homolovi State Park, the rolling hills along the quarter of the Little Colorado River. So those ancestors that were specifically of Hopi ancestry and lineage, they were the ones that left these particular far distant locations and came to the present day location of our villages, which there were as much as 36 villages established in that area. But present day, there's 12 modern villages that are located in northeastern Arizona. But ironically, what I do clarify of that Archeo-Astronomy, as the teaching descriptions have been mentioned, as above, so below, Orion as the whole constellation was the template that the ancestors utilized. So as the symbols that I have of the double triangle would definitely represent of the shoulders and the legs, or what I refer to as the kilt, and the narrow as that belt of Orion. So our first, second, third Mesa villages, regional area descriptions, those other place locations that I just mentioned, of Wupatki by Flagstaff, will be represented with the left shoulder. The right shoulder is Homolovi State Park, south of our Hopi villages, a present-day location. The kilt would represent of Navajo National Monument. Pitatki houses plastered against the canyon walls. And on the other side will be Canyon de Chelly, what we know as Turkey Cliffs, Kuyontunka, in our Hopi place name language. And the bow would be representational of the Grand Canyon corridor area region. And there is definitely other ley lines, grid extending from the main constellation that are aligned with other sites throughout Arizona and parts of New Mexico as well. So that symbol below the belt earlier, as it's commonly known as the Orion Nebula, or to be more specific, the sword or saber of Orion, has that depiction in this particular petroglyph with another smaller flute player that's extending from the waist to the belly of this larger flute player, and the circles coming and radiating out from the flute will be that exact depiction of the sword or saber of Orion. So some of the symbols of the ancestors that left these rock symbols are part of star or constellation charts in the sky. But ironically, they are also the different seasonal markers that we understand. Just commonly, everybody knows about the spiral that's located on Fajada Butte on Chaco Canyon location area. But all ancestral sites have these particular type of seasonal markers. And the petroglyph images that I have are from the Hopi area, Hopi reservation. This one area has a big concentration north of our villages, known as Daawa Petroglyphs Site. But Daawaki will translate to the house of the sun. There is as much as 24 seasonal markers found there for the equinoxes, solstices, and the midpoints or the quarter markings there. And then also partial of a shield symbol, four-pointed star with the circles will kind of be different variants of these shields, but a lot of the native indigenous cultures always have this type of particular symbol of the four-pointed star. Yeah, this one didn't come in all the way through the folder that I had sent. But this is on my village area of Old Oraibi for that particular shield design. And then so again, with the double triangle symbols that I have on my shirt will complement of the basically the body, the shoulder, the belt or the waist, and the kilt portion of Orion. So as well as individuals or knowing of the movements of the sun and moon, utilizing natural landmarks, landscapes throughout the land, you do have the sun watchers, but also at night you will have individuals that are also the star watchers as well too. But this depiction here is showing of an elder, which would actually be the village choir, say like the oral or verbal newspaper would give the announcements. Just like, say, what do they call the description? Oh, the Boston town crier will be that parallel. And then the commonality of the symbols of what most people will reference to as the swastika, but accurately it was pronounced with a V, of savastika, that you have these symbols throughout all different world cultures. And with, again, the astronomical teachings that I share, it is showing the seasonal movement of the dipper, that the pivotal Polaris star is the pinwheel central, and the dipper of the different seasons of the flatness of that symbol, which is actually the large bear, but also as a star dipper translated from our pronunciation of so guyapi. Soho is a pronunciation for star, or even ironically, in the Egyptian language, it's Sahu. And nowadays, with that teaching, description, prediction about the blue star Katsina, we do have the variations of the blue stars. These are creations of mine that I did of the traditional form of what is referred to as the flat dolls or the cradle dolls, painted with earth pigments and utilizing the real feathers. Even though previous years they have been the appearance of these star Katsinas, but again, not that full fulfillment of what predictions are depicted on the World Wide Web and other websites that give that teaching understandings of that. The far, I guess from my right, at the very end, the cheek symbologies of the dots will represent of the constellation of what we call the sisters, Pleiades. And then that'll be the Milky Way on the forehead of that figure depicted there. Mother of all Katsinas, the blue star. Our neighbors of the Navajo, Dene, they have their representation inspired from our supernatural beings of the Yeebiche, as they call it, the talking god in their culture that I depicted in that small flat doll form. And so we are the, again, the westernmost Pueblo cultured people. So they did mason the structures with the sandstone, but they did do the plastering of the exteriors of the wall for protection of the open exposures of the sandstones. But the ancestors did create the pit houses in earlier times before this knowledge of above ground stonemason architecture. And those pit houses were the spin-offs to our modern underground ceremonial chambers of the kivas. Kiva in our language, to reside or dwell within. So when you are a society member, you reside there within durations of 4 days to as much as 27 or 31 days on preparations of, you know, whatever you're conducting, of ceremonial rituals, fasting, that you're giving the preparations for. And also we do the gathering of eagle gatherings, so they are tethered on the rooftops as depicted in the other portion of that housing structure there. And that's how we acquire the feathers from all the raptors of the golden eagles, red-tailed hawks and gray hawks. We mature them. This is my family home, the back section of it in the village of Old Oraibi. And so a lot of the shaping of the stones were done with the modern tools of the hammer and the chisel, utilization of the log beams. And for butchering or hanging other objects, they've got the pole that's hanging out in the back. So this was more like maybe late 1800s, early 1900s types of construction, but the introduction of the modern window sizes and the doorways are evident on this structure here And Oraibi is known to be the oldest continuously inhabited community in North America, paralleling Taos Pueblo in New Mexico and Acoma, Sky City in New Mexico also. This is my historical photograph of my clan house in Oraibi village. On the east side of the plaza is the Corn Clan. One of my current aunts is the matriarch of our clan that resides there, but it's a totally different look to this multi-level structuring that's been depicted in this historical photograph. So I like, to see these historical photographs as it shows, the originality, the look of prior to what now we have the modern looking housing structures that we have within our village. And then another one, what we were referred to as the Piki house, where the women folk have their flat stone, limestone that's worked jet smooth like a Teflon surface, and they create this traditional food from the blue cornmeal on this hot stone, and it's like a paper thin sheet of this blue cornmeal that's rolled up. And so most of the exterior plastering and that has been weathered out and that. So then you definitely see in the background a more modern A-pitched roofing. That's cinder block house structure in the back. So Hopi is known to be the people of the blue corn, but we do grow a lot of these different varieties of the corns, and just like other cultures, we do have the cardinal direction colors of the different variations of the ears of corn. And so we got the yellow, the sweet corn, pink, blue, the peppermint striped one, the white, different color tones of blue, again, either darker purple or even a very lighter type of blue. And then again, the peppermint stripe type of corn and the red. And so the sifter basket is there for winnowing of the seeds and that. And ironically, we have the same type of purple colored pinto beans, just as the raramuri, which are commonly known as the tarahumara in Mexico. And so that is the Malin one, the purple pinto beans that we have of our Hopi people. Okay. And then just the color variants of multi-mixtures of the corn and that. So I am a member of the Corn Clan. So what I just clarify, corn seeds or the kernels were the female eggs. And my ancestors were those ancestral scientific, jokingly GMO manipulators to create this modern size zero vegetable that we have from the origins from South America, known as Diocente, with the production of maybe 2 to 8 seedlings on them. And in our teachings, it was described that the male was not allowed to grow, but the female was allowed to produce. So in the corn or ears of corn, these are, again, the female eggs. In the agricultural scientific description, the female were allowed a production, but the male genetics were blocked. Male is actually the tassel of pollinator. And so again, male was stunted. And that's the reason and understandings why a lot of the cultures give reference to female connotations to corn maiden, corn mother, mother corn. And in our teachings, the different directions, Quinui is north, so yellow is to the north direction. Devema to the west, Tatya to the south, Hopa to the east. And again, as that teaching as above and below, we pray to the 6 directions as above, Umi, and below, Atkami. But in the Mayan teachings, the blue and the red are switched. This is one of the years in the past where my early corn items, which I do count from this day forward 16 days to start my early items. And I utilize the traditional planting stick to do those early items, the beginnings of the planting cycle. So that is a mixture of the yellow corn and the Hopi variant of the sweet corn. And the planting stick is made out of a greasewood branch. So the larger, thicker diameter ones, straight linears, it'll give that heaviness to penetrate into the earth and the topsoil. Modernly now, some individuals create the planting sticks with metal pipes, which are more heavier, and then they can penetrate down. So in between maybe 9 to 14 inches in depth into the earth, we'll plant our seeds. The genetics of it, again, is very adaptable to the dry, harsh, arid environment that we currently live on in our present-day village locations. And this one was just this past summer. Jokingly, I say I decorate my field with streamers and scarecrows and all that. So if you see, there's a separation of the bunches or the bushes of the corn, just of that similar concept. Three strands of string is stronger than one. They help to support each other because we'll do get these strong winds in April and May. So that way it don't topple over if it'll say modernly planted in a commercial planting of single stalk. And so there is the act of thinning out some of the plants as well. My understanding is one seed could actually produce three, the main stronger one and two other of what we call the suckers, because they'll take more of the moisture away from the stronger one. So there is the act of thinning, but now with seed conservancy, I do count my seeds in there, maybe 5 to 7 or 9 seeds that I'll put in there, just depending on how the year is. We've had a dry winter. I was joking to my Hopi people, we already experienced the spring and now we're just now having the winter come to our area with the rains and snowfalls that are occurring and the frigid freezing temperatures that are happening out there. Even this week, it's supposed to be start warming up next week. And so this was another different year. My village where I come from is in the background, but this was one of the years where there was some good rains. And of course, yeah, you see all the clouds there. And so definitely, just depending on the moisture, amount of inches we receive, it'll vary from the size of the stalks and all that. Again, Daawa Petroglyphs Site, as you can kind of see the zigzagging of the shadow and all that. This was kind of pertaining to close to summer solstice time. But when I interpret about these symbolisms, the concentric circle of the 3 rings and 1 dot is the current present day teaching that this is the 4th world realm. And the Sipapu or Sipapuni of the emergence place is the 1 dot with the 1 ring of the aerial top view of this travertine dome hot spring, which is in the teachings or my common layman terms as a wormhole of emergence in the Grand Canyon area. So a lot of cultures have that descriptions of emergence and coming out from the earth, but definitely all the different cleansing and purifications occurred and happened. So in the first world was all the volcanism that occurred and happened. The second world was the ice age. Third world as a commonality, ice melts to water, the flood of all world cultures of that teaching as well. And present day, we don't know exactly what element would be this 4th cleansing purification, but all these natural disasters, catastrophes that are happening. Yeah, we're seeing floods, we're seeing the rain, we're seeing the fires, movement of the earth, earthquakes, aftershocks, tremors, volcanic eruptions. Yeah, there's so much of the natural forces showing their message as well. This was another one that didn't even show that whole thing. But again, one of the seasonal markers that interacted with spirals and concentric circles, the top portion of it didn't come in that folder. One of the elders that I listened to, back when I was younger, gave an understanding teachings about the stone boulder that's nearby a village known as Prophecy Rock. But my understandings, Katsina Boti, life teachings or life path planning to understand of which type of path that you want to follow. But before the symbol that is now known as a cross, where you actually see the 3 dots, that is actually pertaining to, again, the Orion belt description, because the center one is, not aligned straight with the other two of the belt. But with the different dots and symbols, again, a lot of the Mayan calendar keepers, count keepers, I do know of two of them personally that shares of this type of information. And so there's a lot of this related information of the cultures of Hopi and the Maya to the south of us. And this is the actual boulder now, but my village of Oraibi, both the village board and the traditional leadership currently has the boulder not accessible for visitation because of a lot of the vandalism and defacements that occurred and happened. But I do have my business cards. If you didn't get the little postcard image of this serpent, you can come up here and I'll give you one as well. But when you Google search my name on the web, World Wide Web, you'll see some of the video snippets on YouTube and others that I've been sharing of the teaching and the information about this stone boulder known as Prophecy Rock. And then the different descriptions given of, elders' words and teachings that, now you have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And here are things to be considered. To each other, and do not look outside yourself for the leader. Then he clasped his hands together, smiled, and said, "This could be a good time. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from you or from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in the sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So even though the predictions were mentioning about the return of the white brother, or there is going to be the certain one to help, when you look in the mirror, it is yourself. Just like, again, the teaching that if you want that change, you start with yourself to change. Yes, it's so hard to try to change everybody else's mentality, thinking, and ways and understandings. But we change ourselves, as what's shared earlier about the self-love, self-care. But looking in the mirror, it is us that we're waiting for. We're the ones to start, of this movement, of this wave. Myself and 27 other Hopi runners back in March of 2006, an awareness about water issues pertaining to the strip mining of Peabody Coal Company that tapped into our aquifer. I was part of this water run, and we coincided our arrival into Mexico City, which that year Mexico hosted the Fourth World Water Forum. And we ran in relay fashion, starting from the spring at Munkapi Village by Tuba City. Munkapi, the spring that continuously flows. They're the Hopi individuals that do the practice of flood irrigation and terracing gardens in their particular valley. This was actually in the area of Puebla, right before we were going to visit the Temple of the Sun and Moon at Teotihuacan. And ironically, the volcano, which is kind of the mountain that's in the background, when we shared a ceremony, and they were referring to it as Blanco Siwa, which was, white girl, or the girl in white, there was pillaring smoke coming from the volcano. And I was part of the singing and chanting when we shared of the ceremony of the eagle dance. And so the two men came up to me and said, you know, the volcano showed its appreciation and thanks and respect for a long time not hearing our Hopi language or the songs that were being chanted. Because there are certain clans that have the connections and migration histories to the direction of the South. And again, as myself, as a member of the Corn Clan, I still want to go to South America to see the origins of the corn and actually to meet with the different cultures down in those areas. So it is opening up that avenue for me to start traveling abroad, which again, thankful for Terry and the organization to have me come out here to present this type of information with you all today here. And that kind of coincided with what my late grandfather shared with me of the teachings about the eagle and the condor. And ironically, with the date of Puamu, 1998, ironically coincided with when my village was having and conducting their bean dance ceremony in February, Purification Moon, on the year of 1998. And that was also a time where my late grandfather shared this information teaching that we have, that the eagle from the north and the condor from the south, they will come together and unite. And so with that water run back in 2006, that was also, I was sharing that information from all the different cities and towns in Mexico that we were running through prior to getting and arriving to Mexico City. And they were so glad and happy. And that was the reason why we were sharing of that specific social dance of the eagle dance. So again, a lot of the petroglyph symbols have these different depictions about star symbolisms and teachings. Focal points were always focused on or exaggerated. So I call this the star blower. And so there's probably overseers or watchers of the two smaller stick figure individuals that are below at the footing of that main individual. So a lot of these symbols were inadvertent, again, the star or constellation charts that we see in the night sky. And also the teachings of the migrations into the four directions, again, not that geometric symbol known like the swastika, but the curvature one, which also resembles certain symbols from other cultures or the Asian cultures. So the four direction travels upward to represent the Bering Strait, the land bridge that was utilized, downwards into South America, and to the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. The circle represents the Earth, and then the rotation of the planet that we are on. But ironically, there were teachings that ancestral rotation of Earth was actually counterclockwise. They would give the descriptions that the sun rose from the west and set in the east. So these different multiple meteor impacts that occurred and happened on our Earth's surface, where ironically, in Arizona, southwest of our villages, we do have that evidence of the meteor crater. There's various ones that occurred and happened on the Earth's surface, which is eventually part of that same history that's in this particular area as well, that these impacts made this current rotation that we are experiencing right now. But also, again, in that prediction or the end days, judgment days, when the Mayans talk about there's going to be the 7 days and nights of darkness, that'll be the time when the earth is going through its own standstill. And then we don't know again, but some predictions mentions the earth will go back to its original ancestral rotation. So even again, us Hopis don't have all those answers and accuracies for the predictions and all the answers for humanity. We're just in the same boat as well. This one again was the same image of that one that I mentioned earlier about that summer solstice marker. So lastly, what I want to share with you is definitely specifically of the cards that I gave out of this image is of the snake symbol, but if you see distinctively, it does have the three bends. It is that exact layout of, what is out here. So these are snake society members that are performing and conducting their snake dance. Jokingly, I have personal friends that are Snake Clan members or part of this society that I jokingly refer to them as the snake charmers. They're the ones that know how to handle, talk to them, keep them soothing, not be menacing or striking in their ways and conducted in their ceremonies. The other figures are of the Antelope Society that also do the chanting and singing for them. So again, they're underground dwellers that will carry the prayers and messages at the conclusion of the ceremony when they're released in the valley floors below our villages and the mesa areas. And so again, the serpent or the snake, will carry that, how they were treated and how they helped to conduct this ceremony, which is one of the successful rain ceremonies. But ironically, it comes in that monsoon time of the month of August in our Hopi village areas. And so when they're talking about the different migrations, this one in particular is definitely telling of the journeys into the four directions. The Snake Clan ancestors did come towards this east direction to go to the Atlantic Ocean. And again, now with the studies in archaeology, the conflictings of who the originator ancestors were with the construction of this Serpent Mound that's not too far away from here, the different alignments with the certain constellations and stars that again is evident with all the studies that are being done. The Snake Clan people, and normally again as petroglyphs, the rock symbols, was not much, say, boulders or stones to leave their symbols on the rocks. But yet, below the actual mound, and I've never been there, so I still want to go see it personally. But there is, and what I've been reading and seeing picture images about, of the rock formation looking like a serpent's head. And that was one of the reasons why that the Snake Clan ancestors helped to build up these mounds as 3 feet high and to leave that symbol of the snake out here. So again, the postcard that I gave out is a glyph that's found on Hopi, but it does again confirm to the Snake Clan histories of that, because I am a consultant with our culture preservation department. So listening to other elders from other clans, what they share of the common information, that's what I just wanted to share with you, that again, we do have these ancestral connections to different parts of the North American continent and other parts of the world, that I feel that Hopi ancestors of who they met, who they interacted with, drew inspiration, brought back all the symbols, the teachings and ways to the central location in our present day villages that we refer to it as our center of our Hopi universe, Duwanasawa, in our teachings. And myself, I am a one-man operation of my company name of Ancient Pathways Tours. I've been a guide since 1992 after leaving college from Santa Fe from the Institute of American Indian Arts. To clarify the information, I was a participant in the Smithsonian Folklife Festival in the summer of 1991, where my artwork was featured for 2 weeks on the mall there in Washington, D.C., and then was given that recognition from the International Biographical Center out of Cambridge, England, to being recognized as one of the 2,000 artists and designers of the 20th century. And this was back in the year of 1998 and 99 when that recognition was given to me. And then just some inspiration from multiple symbols that I came up with this concept of the design logo that I have for my tour company. Earlier, I did give offering for the altar that was placed here. We prayed with cornmeal, but we also give offering with tobacco. So I also gave tobacco and even to the fire that's back here. But I just kind of was drawn to as well hearing and listening to all the singing and chanting and what people were sharing today, that even I do want to share of my singing and chanting from my two lineages. So I will share some of the Hualapai, Havasupai bird songs. Hualapai, people of the tall ponderosa pines. Havasupai, people of the blue-green water. I do sing the bird songs of those cultures. And then the last song that I'll chant will be of the Hopi language, and I'll also give a translation of that. So I just wanted to give time so that way I could share of that teachings and ways. So if you feel that energy, if you feel that spirit, yes, you can stand up and do your own dance movements too, what I'll be sharing with the chanting and singing with you. And I believe that's the last of it, yeah. And I do not want to damage a gourd rattle, so I do have my variation of a elk hide, rawhide rattle that I utilize. And so, as you have probably seen the flyers, this is the same rawhide rattle that I utilize. So I'll sing a couple of the, well, what's the time frame? Well, okay. Okay, I just pretty much talk through this presentation, but definitely give you all this time to get up, stretch your legs, get your jig on and your dance energy with you. So I'll share maybe multiple songs of the bird songs and then maybe two of the Hopi songs as well. So in the Hualapai Havasupai teachings, these are actually sung at the wakes, guidance of the animals, the birds, and the spirits to the soul to take them into the spirit world, crossing over the river. Grand Canyon Corridor, again, is known to be the very return to your spirit, your soul into the spirit world, which ironically is that same teaching with our Hopi teachings as well. So this first song will be of the, maybe I'll do an energy one or a fast one, the hummingbird song. Also cultures from the California tribal natives, Southern California, like the Cohia, uh, Mission Band of Indians, they do these similar variants. They do speak the same Hualapai language as well. And others that ran away from the government are in Mexico, known as Pai Pai. They still carry and speak that same language in that. And the Southern California tribal peoples, they do a more faster type of beating of shaking. And ironically, yeah, since the hummingbird flutters very fast, it's kind of fitting for that. But ironically, almost the same pronunciation. Hopi is tuhza for the hummingbird. And then in the Southern California tribes and Hualapai have Supai language, tulti. Tote, 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 tote. Vaya como huele, vaya como huele. Tote, 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 tote. Vaya como huele, vaya como huele. Tote, 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 tote. Tote, 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 vaya Samuele, vaya Samuele. Tote, 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 vaya Samuele, vaya Samuele. Tote, 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 tote. You can stand up and if you want to. Vaya Samuele, vaya Samuele, tote, 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 vaya Samuele, vaya Samuele, tote, 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 vaya Samuele, vaya Samuele. Tote, 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 vaya Samuele, vaya Samuele, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Evanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Vaya Joelo, Vaya Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Vanga Joelo, Vanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Vaya Joelo, Vaya Joelo, Evanga, Evanga Joelo, Evanga, Evanga Joelo, Evanga, Evanga Joelo, Evanga, Evanga Joelo, Evanga Joelo, Vaya Joelo, Vaya Joelo, 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 Evanga, Evanga Joelo, Evanga, Evanga Joelo. Yolma, Yolma, Goele, Goele, 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 yo maka, 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 goele, goele, Yolma, 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 Goele, Goele. Ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome. Ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome. Ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome. Ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo le patome, ayo ho le bang, ayo le patome, ayo ho ayo le bongo, ayo le pachome, ayo le pachome, ayo le bongo, ayo le pachome, ayo le bongo, ayo le pachome, ayo le pachome, ayo le pachome, ayo le bongo, ayo le pachome.
With this song now that I'm gonna chant is gonna be the Hopi chant that O Va'a Daawa Ina'a, up above our Father's Son. Tokyo now at Muyao Ikwa, during the nighttime, our grandfather moon. Umayep Nama Nikyangwo, them two together. Umutimwe, Umungam, Musinwe, Lulu Matkatsi Nawakin Lawa. They both together are praying for good, healthy lives to our children, to our people. To live your life to the fullest extent that the higher power has laid your life path for you into the oldest age to achieve. Go with strength in your life journey, in your life ways. Again, thank you for allowing me to sing and chant for you. Again, live your life to the fullest extent that the higher powers laid your life path for you into oldest age to achieve. I was supposed to have come here last year, but now this year I made it to fruition to fulfill to come out here. So I thank you all for listening to my words, what I had to share. Again, yeah, I went through that very fast as well, but definitely again, everybody here feeling the energy, understandings, yes, with our teachings, we are all star people. Our respectable term, the star people up there in the sky. Yes, they gave these understandings and teachings to the ancestors. It's been handed down from one generation to next, all the way to this present day. Yes, we are relearning, we are remembering of all those teachings from the past. We're just continuing on to share this type of information and teachings of understandings that, yes, we are all one. Hopi does not discriminate, do not push anyone aside. Everybody around the world is our brothers and sisters. We pray for all living things sustaining themselves on this earth. So we're praying for everyone, not for our own wants and needs for the Hopi, but for for all on this planet Earth. So we are praying for our enemies as well. The smallest insects, bugs, the largest animals, the plants, the trees, as those elements again, earth, air, water, and fire, just to continue of these teachings and ways to again instill our younger generations who we see that are really into wanting to and yearning to learn and understand of all these teachings and ways. And definitely, again, myself feeling all this energy, seeing of every one of you, yes, you all have your own aura as well too, because now my realization in my age, things came to me intuitively when I was younger. I did not fully accept and grasp everything. Now it's not too late, but I am taking in all what's out there. And so, with that understandings, that's why now I just kind of give this type of teachings, presentations, lectures of this tidbit of information, about our Hopi teachings and ways. We do practice the esoteric. So even again, I'm not a Snake Clan member, not from that society, but yeah, that's the common history and what I've listened to Snake Clan elders share. And with that glyph again, that is on our land, again, ironically depicting the exact layout of what is out here of this Serpent Mound. And definitely, we are of the stars. We are made out of the starlight, the stardust. So when I was interviewed by ancient aliens, they omitted this, but that's the answer that I gave because they asked if any Hopis or if, we still have that interaction, connections to extraterrestrials, the aliens. We see that in the petroglyphs or the rock symbols. I just generally give the statement, they saw them, so they drew them. These are those teachings that are found with that phrase in other cultures as star people teachings, star people knowledge, or why we have these star symbols, the star blanket from other cultures, we are part of that. So I said, we are star people. Analyzing of our human skin, all the components is not of planet Earth. It's from stardust, it's from star beams, it's from starlight. So we are all star beings, star people. And I definitely kind of see that glistening in the eyes of most of you as well. So again, that's just my common understanding, what I feel of this gathering today. So again, Kwakwa, thank you for listening to me, what I have to share with you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that'll.
Doesn't have hair on it like
Huh?
like the cough drops in the bottom of it. Different. I think she might ask you some questions.
Oh, okay, yeah. Or even again, if any, yeah, I was gonna say, if anybody wants. Yeah, maybe if there's any Q&A, yeah.
So please, come on up, ask him a question,
Oh, we have one.
or if you could speak from the audience, you can speak very, very loud.
Okay.
the other day where they, looked at the rock, Prophecy Rock didn't end just right there. Another elder had found other information.
Yeah, some of the other surrounding stone, yeah, some of the other around stone boulders and rock symbols that are around that area of the prophecy rock is still a continuance of understandings or predictions. Oh, what I forgot to share, that star prophecy rock stone boulder opens up your crown chakra. It's one of the very deepest chakra vortexes found within a 150-mile radius of that particular stone boulder. And literally southeast of our villages is that area of the Red Rock Canyon countries of Sedona, which is also part of that chakra vectra ley line of that energy that's found out there. And ironically, there is ancestral sites there of Badger House, pronounced Tonanki, and Red Sandstone House, pronounced Polutsky, in that Boynton Canyon, West Sedona area. So it is one that really opens up the crown chakra. And individuals in past years that I've guided there, the rock energy readers, they definitely feel that very ancestral energy emitting from that particular stone boulder.
Question about the corn. So here in the east, we're always taught, about the filter planting corn, beans, and squash together.
Get on the mic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just asking about the corn in the pictures and corn clan. And here, a lot of the eastern tribes talk about the three sisters having corn, beans, and squash planted together. Is that something that you guys ever do with any companion planting with your corn?
Well, like some of the seeds that are, I guess say desecrated and manifested in ceremony, they're collectively all into one basket or container. So those seeds that have been interacting with ceremonies, we do not separate those seeds. How it is gifted from our relatives that belong to certain societies or how they conducted the ceremony, we'll plant those in the little bunches or clusters. As that modern description referring to it as the three sisters. But if you do have those bean variants that are climbers, the corn stalk, the corn plant, it'll wind and climb onto there. To have less weed production on the ground, the squash vines, the watermelons, pumpkins will deter from productions of the weeds. And definitely with the modern agricultural scientific studies, it gives those nutrients into the soil of that has been, planted collectively together. And even again, like that one image that had the multi-mixture colors of the seeds, those were part of maybe those ones that were planted that were given from their relatives in the societies or the ceremonies that were conducted to give that multiple corn. Ironically, yeah, calling it Indian corn during the Thanksgiving time or celebration or holiday. But that's just the common understandings. Not all the time it's planted in that way. And myself as a farmer, some plots or sections I would do crop rotation. Or even we do have a teaching that we could let and allow the land and the earth to rest. So maybe with durations of 1 year to 4 years, maybe we won't plant in certain plots. And then just that soil, re-energize, and then we'll start planting again. But in my family plots, we've always had, wherever the blue corn was plot, that's always that, white corn, red. But now in recent times, I've been doing kind of that different crop rotation with our family plots. But that's just the common understandings of it, because yeah, all cultures will have that similar teaching descriptions about the three sisters.
I don't have a question, just comment. I'll tell you later on what I saw when you first started dancing, I'll explain that. But going backward, for 40 years, I've been working on energy and placement of stones and creating energy symbols. And I've learned that clockwise direction is bringing in energy. counterclockwise is spelling energy. That's part of
Releasing.
my worksheet. And your ancient pathways, you chose, if on purpose or just intuitively, you went counterclockwise, spreading out your message.
Yeah, because that's the radiating linears of spreading out, collecting or bringing in were the triangles that were in the outer ring of that, which is that combination of the spiral symbol and basically a sun, sunbeams or sun rays with the linears and the triangles that are on there. So yeah, as an artist, I just, was inspired from three different imageries to combine that all into that one. But definitely ancestors left, what do they call them? Like monoliths or the markers with stones. They're found throughout different locations as well. And of course, like Stonehenge is the main world renowned one. But there's so many others in other ancestral sites in that. And that's kind of a study that I'll be doing in 2 weeks, because I'm a member of the Society of Cultural Astronomy of the American Southwest. Our organization applied for grants in the state of Colorado. So the Colorado Historical Society had approved of the grants to do this type of archaeological survey studies at one of the sites that has never been excavated or explored by other archaeologists. So utilizing infrared and drones and other gadgets and technologies, we're going to see if the assumptions are correct about certain places in that area that might be a great kiva, a collective of some kivas. And ironically, just with aerial views of it, it's kind of in a shape formation of a crescent moon. So we're gonna come up with a particular specific name for that particular location, because basically they're calling it Jackson's Castle. And so it'll possibly have a different name attuned to it. And I do definitely I'm always excited to be part of the site stewardship for now with the state of Utah, even though I am originally based in Arizona, but I do a lot of my consulting work with the Colorado and Utah states as well.
So you mentioned monoliths. If you haven't checked it out, check out Karnak, France. See, it starts
Karnak,
with C,
France.
Karnak.
Okay.
And they're bluestone, limestone pillars, and they're rosa. It's pretty phenomenal. I haven't been there, but that's part of my research. And none of the people that's play sites, and if any of you go to any sites, let me know what direction they're facing, because that's very important, sacred geometry.
Exactly, yeah,
And
that's
what kind of stone is the structure
Mhm.
made of? None of the archaeologists or anybody goes in, doesn't ever say that. That's part of my work, and I'm gonna be writing a book eventually. And, when you go to the Serpent Mound, I've never said it, to any of you, but I don't know how much, if you, Tom, have noticed that the tail of the snake is uncoiling counterclockwise, a springing out of energy. That's the energy from the earth being released from the comet. And if you look at the tail and at the mouth, at the head, are two escarpments. Nowhere else but at the tail and the head are escarpments.
right. Thank
And
you.
you also mentioned Nagas. Anybody else know what Nagas are? That's the Hindu Indian. Rivan Mohan talks a lot about the Nagas.
Mhm. Oh yeah, there's a lot of commonality throughout all the world cultures.
Can you share anything about the teaching for the prophecy of going into the fifth world?
Like I said, we don't know exactly what would be that element of cleansing or purification. Definitely, from the past histories, as they say, worlds were destroyed as that cleansing purification description. Yes, there was, the boastfulness of who was the best inventor, artisan, healer, say like in the second world. And that's the reasons why, chaos, catastrophes, wars occurred and happened of the fractioning, ancestors to come, to again of an ending of that particular world. But definitely the state of humanity, chaotic state, boastfulness, killing off, were just part of those cleansings and purifications. Even say like with the flood, there's always the teachings known about Atlantis, or in the Pacific Ocean, the land of Lemuria, land of Mu, where a lot of our present day cultures have, again, ancestral ties and connections to those teachings. Because in our Hopi ways, there were like these lands, islands, peninsulas that were once a part of the footsteps, the footprints of the ancestors. And again, when they came to chaotic ways, then it was totally submerged to not have any evidence of that. But yes, now a lot of the explorers are seeing and finding all these evidence from the past, ancestral, cities, villages, in the ocean. So again, yeah, we don't have the accurate answers, no answers for salvation for humanity. We're in the same boat with everybody else. But they do put us in that pedestal. So even that interview conducted in front of the camera of the Decoded Show camera, again, the prophecy rock symbols were taken, that it was that prediction that the world was going to end in 2012. It was just the common understandings, the Mayan calendar count keepers, the count ending of that day of that calendar cycle, and the new calendar count system beginning the next morning. That was it. But there was the false accusations towards us Hopis, the Tibetans and Mayans, stating that the world was going to end. Personally, I don't know anybody to tell me when my world's going to end as well too. But that doom and gloom scare was a total change of subject matter on that interview. So when you do see that on YouTube, I did share of that prediction that why we have our villages on the mesas is that there is the prediction that the water is going to return someday. So now all the occurrences of the San Andreas Fault, earthquakes happening in California, whenever that West Coast does go down, one day there will be that ocean water around our villages. So that'll be that confirmation description to the country song that we'll have oceanfront property in Arizona.
Famous elder said that my property in Spokane, that'll be the ocean beach.
Oh, that'll be different teachings as understandings, like I learned from geologists, like in the area in Utah of Cedar City, that the geologists mentioned that those mountain formations were part of the Appalachians. And so those so many millions of years movement, the mantles, movement of earth, definitely again show that evidence. The earth, the land was moving at times of these mantles and plates.
Like yesterday morning in Tennessee, I heard it and I'm like, oh, and then the house started shaking. I thought, is it
Even there was a small one southeast of our westernmost village that I was talking about, a Wincopi by Tuba City. It was a 4.3, I think 3 weeks ago or something too. But again, there's all these evidence, because again, we don't know exactly what is the cleansing purification sign to this fourth world. But definitely others are realizing, understanding it's the wheel is already turning and spinning to enter into, the fifth. But again, we don't know exactly what it is going to be, but we're seeing all the natural catastrophes happening, all the signs. I mean, yeah, it's an out of balance state. Exactly. And definitely this time of the seasons of change, yes, we're seeing and experiencing change, around the land, around humanity, the weather patterns.
I'm sharing a little bit more about the last song that you sang and where it was and what it's about. Especially
Yeah, the Hopi song, usually on social dances, like with the buffalo or the eagle. And that was just kind of like either like entering into the square or plaza or exiting out. But it was more like an exit song, the very last finale song, because you have the sets of songs that you'll, chant and conduct in the ceremony. But just with that importance of that message, again, that the Father, Son, and Grandfather Moon are praying for all of our children or people to live that, longevity of a life and fulfilling our life path plan journey, in good health. So that's just another variation of the interpretation of that song. Thank you.
Why is it, usually I hear grandmother moon, not grandfather moon?
It just varies from the different cultures. The individual that composed that gave that connotation to male or, grandfather to the moon. But yeah, even my understanding is a lot of other cultures reference it to be grandmother as well. So again, even that we are a matrilineal culture society, just again, certain descriptions pertain to female, but that composer of that particular song chose grandfather on there. And ironically, my late grandfather was a World War II veteran. He utilized with 10 other men their GI Bill to learn the silver lay overcraft of the Hopi jewelry after 1942. And he actually had his stamp hallmark of a crescent moon, even though he was a member of the Sun Clan. And so that was just kind of fitting with that one. And I don't know, I've always been partial to that particular song as well because of the message that it is, conveying and telling the people. So it's not really like a chant or song, but it's just kind of like still the verbiage of a prayer to given, and whoever hears it takes in the energy of it. But at the end, yeah, almost kind of lost my voice with that. So thanks for the Ricola, Terry. Yes, sir.
Nice. Dakota, because I know the peacemaker is returning, and they call that the golden age, and be making reference to that.
Well, in the parallel of that, Quetzalcoatl as the plumed serpent, in Hopi, the men that are part of the men's society fashion prayer feathers, and they leave those type of offerings at natural springs that we do know that the water serpent dwells at. So it's at that particular time that it's known to be the plumed serpent because it receives all the prayer feathers and adorns itself with, the prayer feathers that are left of offerings. Kind of a little different tidbit of that understandings, the language that we are following linguistically is Uto-Aztec and Shoshonean. Our pronunciation of the water serpent, almost has a similar pronunciation to the Mayan Kukulkan. So Kukulkan, Palalakang are similar family or similar pronunciation variants of that. But again, yeah, even just with the earthquakes that are happening, it's just one of those teachings as well. It's the serpent that is moving, which is unsettlement, where ironically it is a parallel with teachings from Ireland as well, or even that, again, spiral symbol, it's the coiled serpent. And when it is moving and swerving, then that's when we experience, the earthquakes, the aftershocks, and the tremors from that. But also, again, there's the connotations of, well, like the colors that I have, the turquoise and the yellow, pertaining to the snake society. They chant of a description about a blue rattlesnake and a yellow rattlesnake. But that would, again, be a parallel understandings of above and below. There is the surface serpent, but there is also the underworld serpent as well. As what was shared today. We have complements of up there. We have our other complement of ourselves, up there observing. And what we're conducting here is, again, is the same teaching parallel that they are conducting things up there too as well. Our second or our twin that's, up there or around there observing us. So yeah, we have that teachings, but yeah, for the golden hour, again, we don't know exactly when these things. Yeah, but it's just symbolic descriptions or again, predictions and the word phrases that are utilized. And again, as esoteric, each of your clans or societies or cultures or lineages you have, yeah, you'll have variations of word descriptions given, but yet it's just still that commonality of understandings of what is to occur and happen or what is to come, or the outcome of it.
Just want to comment on that because I've done a lot of work with Pensacola and I'm a moon dancer. And so it's like going into the fifth sun is going into more of like the balance of feminine, masculine, so the rising of the feminine. And
the fifth song was like a rise in technology and architecture and all this stuff, and then now moving into the next son or the next age is that balance and, yeah.
Yeah, because we are having all this technology, the gadgets, that's, simply like making life easier. When, yeah, ancestors of the past didn't have it, but they had this teaching and they had the knowledge. They wanted to know when the seasons were, when to plant, when to stop planting the seeds, when to harvest, which is just following through the seasonal understandings of the changes of the seasons, when things are occurring. And again, the sky roof was the clock, the watch, it showed with the different, yeah, you only have Orion for this certain winter time, dominant constellation. Then you'll have other constellations for the summer months. So you see the different imageries in the sky roof again that pertain and align with the seasons that are out there. So yeah, again, just with the.
That question kind of adds to that.
Okay.
But you talk about the sky roof, and as we know, the sky roof is radically changing because we put all these satellites up there. And we're planning to put tens of thousands more satellites up there. And if you will, a lot of people now talk about that this war of technology or technology is really about control of the sky roof.
There was that type of prediction, again, just from like, the movies, Star Wars.
Yeah.
That, instead of losing, it is possibly that prediction that was mentioned, the wars are going to be fought in the sky. But it is an understanding that it is not to lose human life. So they are going to do that. So literally the generations younger, knowing how to do remote control, playing these video games, it's basically instilling them that they're the ones that are going to remotely operate and do the wars with the technologies, the spaceships, the satellites. I mean, now, yeah, just like with the drone can do the laser beam or drop the bomb and stuff. The wars are going to be fought there. Literally, it'll be that fulfillment of having Star Wars up there. To not lose human life, but they're going to be the operators to do that. So even that was one of their predictions, but that's not totally always mentioned on
But
the
even-
World Wide Web.
Even Star Wars, we see whole planets being destroyed, so that's kind of the concern.
And
Is
in
with so much technology up there, and then what's the cost of that technology to the planet?
it's going to be like what they call, it's all that space junk. And of course, when it falls down, we don't know where it's going to land at. Somebody's house, some city, town. I mean, yeah, there's going to be things falling from the sky, as they call that. But short history about that George Lucas Star Wars. Hopi man was married into a Navajo family. They started writing up this type of story frame. Somehow, some way they met George Lucas. They handed it over to him. So George Lucas got the name and fame and acknowledgments for Star Wars. But of course, the first image you see on the very first Star Wars image, you see Princess Leia having a similar hair, just like the unmarried Hopi maidens of the butterfly hair worlds. The sand people were from the Katsina images of Koyamsis that we call the mud heads, the mud people, the earth people. A lot of those imageries, characters in Star Wars were kind of inspired by Hopi Katsinas as well. So there's all that evidence, in that. And even with ethnobotany, or the plant of the four-winged salt bush, that seedling from the female brush in a side view looks like a X-wing fighter. So even though there's no given recognition or any compensation to the Hopi people, Hopi ancestors, but yeah, George Lucas got the name and fame for the Star Wars series.
And the teachings of Joseph Campbell.
I was gonna say that as well. He read and learned of all the book publications, teachings, that Campbell learned from all world cultures as well too. That was another of the histories I found out about George Lucas.
Like I said, here, Lee and Stan Bracken wrote the second Star Wars, and they lived in town I live in Kinsman, Ohio. And they created the name Yoda. They were gonna name it Mishka after the cat, which in Russian means cat, mouse. If they decide that wasn't right, so they're the ones that created Yoda.
and came up with that term name. Well, again, this is good, interesting conversation of other subjects in that, so, yeah. But again, you know, it's just that thing, we just have commonality of understandings of different subjects, you know, different items that are out there, but, you know, that's just myself as well, too. I'm a bookworm, so I also do reading and all that.
I remember your teachings of your elders saying, under those circumstances, do you take up a weapon and join the world in the coming disaster? Do not touch weapons.
Yeah, that's another
And
teaching.
we're so immature, we don't belong in space. Period. We don't belong there, we can't even take care of our own people, and we're trashing it.
Yeah.
I have a question. Hello, I wanted to know what your thoughts are, and or if there's any Hopi story or mythology behind a concept that a lot of the people in the Four Corners region have the ancestral lands of the Hopi, and my ancestry of my mother's ancestry of the Yaqui.
Okay, down south, yeah.
Relatives,
Mhm.
who are close
Yeah.
relation, but a story of possibly the forefathers or the ancestors who created the sites like Chocolate Canyon and cliff dwellings. If there's any stories that you have any thoughts on related to possibly like.
Yeah, any thoughts about the ancestral sites like, yeah, in the canyon locations of ancestral sites? Well, that's also even part of that when I was conducting interviews and, was along with the, late, Zuni Elder, Clifford Mahooty. It was actually to hide away and run away from the giants. That's why they built like the very steep sheer cliffs in Mesa Verde or in that canyon area of Canyon de Chelly. They're wanting to hide from there because there is histories about the giants, parallels with the little people also. I mean, everything that's out there in the world and other cultures. It also parallels to a lot of our Hopi histories as well. So there's so much, and yeah, I could probably go on about stuff like that, but that's just the same thing too with the teachings of the giants, or yeah, the biblical description given as the Sumerians of that too. So yeah, again, it's paralleling all these histories from other world cultures.
That's very interesting. Yes, absolutely. There's so many reasons for them to have built those dwellings. Is there some type of folklore that's shared with the Hopi when it comes to the stories of like hustling and like the relationship?
That's a part of, remember, the eagle condor, even those, what I understand, those explorations, conquistadors went further from our Hopi villages into Utah, Colorado. And, you know, yeah, you got those descriptions given about Escalante or Dominguez and, you know, all these other explorers, Tovar and all that in the Grand Canyon. But yeah, they were looking and searching for their own land, which is probably that parallel for our teachings as well, that some ancestors were in the South and they did not like that negativity action of human sacrifice. So they came to the present day location to find a more peaceful land location. So Hopi does not literally translate to, peace or peaceful people, but the present day location of the lands and villages are a settlement of, peacefulness away from the human sacrifices that were done from the southern cultures, like commonly known by the Aztecs, that did that. So again, or thank you again for all this interesting conversation.
Thank you so much, Bertram. He will be back tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, so please, we'll definitely have more time for questions tomorrow. So you'll see him at 3 o'clock. So
Okay.
right now, Sheila and Ben
But
Oh,
I
yeah.
are
wanted to tell you,
setting up for the
you
final
started
portion
dance.
of the ceremony that began earlier. So we're gonna go ahead and finish up with that, and then we will have a break until 6 o'clock. There's a slight change tonight. We might do a little